Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another Facebook Live conversation with the Presbyterian Outlook. As usual, my name is Jessie Littlejohn. My pronouns are they, them, and I'm the social media producer for Presbyterian Outlook. And I'm joined today by my colleague and friend and the digital content editor at the Outlook, Rose Shaw Taylor. Thanks, Rose, for jumping in today.
Yeah, always happy to talk to you, Jessie, and excited to share a little bit about our Associated Church Press Awards.
Awesome. So, friends, a lot of what the Outlook, both as a staff and as a board, what we've talked about recently, when an ongoing, but definitely a lot in the recent history, is our why. Why do we do what we do in the way that we do it? And also, we've talked about our what. What is God calling us to do and be in the world? And part of answering those questions is giving name and meaning to the things that we have always done. And that's a phrase that we hear in the church a lot. We do things because this is how we've always done them. And what the Outlook has realized is that we don't want to just always do something because we've always done it. We want to have a purpose and a meaning. And some of the answers to those questions comes from looking at our editorial policies, how we manage our submissions, how we engage the way that we do. And asking and answering those questions is explaining what was the reason behind all of those things. And one of the things that we've engaged with for a while now that maybe people aren't familiar is what Rose just mentioned, which is the Associated Church Press. Rose, can you talk a little bit about what the Associated Church Press is as an organization and how the Outlook is affiliated with that?
I can. And for full disclosure, I feel that I should say that I am on the Associated Church Press board. So there's that.
Yeah.
But the Associated
There's no impropriety. You don't get special privileges or anything.
I'm not involved in judging at all, but I do help to put on the conference every year. So the Associated Church Press actually began way back in 1916. And I was just reading about this history on our website, the Associated Church Press's website. Apparently, a bunch of journalists got together to cover what we now know as the National Council of Churches in 1916. And they decided they must have had great conversations and enjoyed being around each other because they decided, hey, we should keep meeting, continue to learn from one another, continue to commiserate, and continue to improve our field and our calling. So that is how the Associated Church Press started. And we are an organization that is North American. So we have publications in America and in Canada. And I would say our three main purposes are about being a place of mutual learning and support. We have this conference every year. And then we also have monthly meetings where we invite different members to say and teach on things that they're experts in, or we can collectively learn together about, hey, how are you navigating AI or all the different issues that small, independent or not independent publications face. So we're a place of mutual learning and support. We promote higher standards of communication. One of the ways we do that is through the annual awards contest and learning from the best of the best. And then we also work to call one another to be better and to higher standards. And we all believe, if you're a member, that we believe in public discourse and that we want to build a more just society. And we believe words are really important in doing that. So we talk to each other about that. But yeah, so we're made up of freelance journalists and publishers, editors, some independent magazines like the Outlook, some communicators that are associated with denominations, and everything in between. Mm-hmm. And the Outlook is a member, which means we pay dues every year, and we go to the convention and attend meetings and learn from our colleagues. So some other members that are our followers, Outlook readers, might know: Christian Century, Sojourners, the PCUSA denomination. We have Presbyterian siblings that are a part including Unbound, which is a small magazine out of the denomination. And
Religious News Service does as well, right?
Yes, Religious News Service is also a member. And Broadview Magazine, which is this amazing publication out of Canada, is also a member. So those are some organizations our readers might be familiar with.
And the conference this year was normally you were in Chicago, but this year you were in Canada to sort of lend to the hospitality of that travel for your Canadian members, right?
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes. So throughout our history, the ACP's history, the conferences have happened all over the country. But for the past little bit, we found a good setup in Chicago. We've gone there for several years, but this year we heard feedback from our Canadian members that maybe some of them weren't comfortable traveling to the United States right now, given the relations between our countries and what some leaders say. And we wanted to be hospitable and support our members that are in Canada and show solidarity. So what we did is we actually partnered with the religious organization up there called the Canadian Christian Communicators Association, CCA. We partnered with them and did a dual conference in Toronto earlier this May, and it was a really good time.
Yeah, and it was cool we'll talk about the awards in a little bit, but it was fun to stream it and the way that they kind of integrated their own awards into the AC, like everybody got equal representation, which was kind of cool. It was also really interesting. So for those of you, again, we'll talk about the awards. There's like 80 different categories or something.
Yeah.
Of different kinds of awards that you can submit entries for. But as I was watching, I kept thinking, wow, the CCA ones, some of those are really unique. And I would love if ACP adopted some of those that were a little bit different from what ACP has. That it's really, I think we've talked about it. We're constantly in a space of learning from one another and how to do better. And even things like how we award different awards and recognize different people that maybe are not at the table or whose voice might otherwise not be heard. Doing it in that way is still pretty cool. So you talked about the conference and different things that you all are learning from one another, the discourse that you all have. There are different workshops that you can do every year at the conference. Rose actually led a workshop this year around SEO and sort of what we've learned at the Outlook around SEO. And then last year we attended one about social media, which impacted how we did our social media moving forward. And so I'm curious, Rose, what you took away from the conference this year that you think we'll see, the universal we will see impacting the journalism world, but also what you think might impact how we as the Outlook operate, that our followers will also want to kind of pay attention to.
Mm-hmm. A couple things come to mind. There was a social media presentation last year that was really helpful to me and Jesse. And if you ever wonder, why does the Outlook just put their links in the comments? It's because we learned to do that there. And essentially it's a way to bypass some of how Meta ranks things. And so we find if we put the link in the comments, you, our followers, are more likely to see that post. So that's why we do that. There was nothing quite so concrete this year, but just a lot of kind of like good food for thought. I will say the Associated Church Press does have a YouTube channel. So if any of the things that I say here are of interest, I think you should be able to watch some of them on there. But there was an opening. We always open with a worship service. And the person who preached, his name was Jason Biasi. I believe I'm saying that right. And he is a dual citizen in the United States, born and raised here, and then went to Canada to, I think, teach and then preach, but worked at the Christian Century for a time as well. So has background in communications. And his sermon, I'm still going to be thinking about it for a long time, because it was just this wonderful exploration and reflection on the difference between religion in the United States, well, Christianity specifically in the United States and Christianity in Canada, and the psychology of that, of even being a part, for Canadians being a part of the Commonwealth. And there is not a separation of church and state up there. And how much for the United States, our identity was built on, well, we're the ones who rebelled from the empire. And that's really how we see ourselves throughout history, of like the protector of what is right, this idea of separation of church and state. And yeah, so I'll be thinking about that for a while. And that is on YouTube with the Associated Church Press, if you want to watch that. I also went to a really interesting talk. There's this magazine called Spectrum, and they are also independent, like the Outlook, but they report on the Seventh-day Adventist Church. And they are a little bit bigger than the Outlook, staff-wise and resource-wise, but they have this amazing online presence. They do a lot of vertical video. They have a very popular TikTok channel. And they, Alex Carpenter is the publisher there. And then Raquel, I wrote down her last name, want to give her credit. Raquel Mentor is their kind of digital editor overseeing these videos. I think her position's a little different than mine, even if we share a title. But they gave a talk on how to optimize digital channels to both inform but reach new audiences and continue to grow. And they have a global audience, the Seventh-day Adventist Church. And so it's different than the Outlook, but it's fascinating just to kind of see how they utilize vertical video, which I know in a perfect world, we at the Outlook would like to do, but it's a matter of what are we prioritizing and what resources do we have? But that was very interesting. And then even in preparing for my own workshop, which you mentioned, Jesse, I did a good bit of research on SEO in the age of AI. So SEO, for those who don't know, is search engine optimization. And this is a set of ever-changing rules, really, that people like us think about when creating content online, so that Google likes your content, that Google understands your content, and your articles appear high on the list whenever people search things. But we are quickly moving away from a world where you Google things and moving into a world where you might search on YouTube, you might search on TikTok, you might ask ChatGPT. Over a year ago, Google added AI to the top of their search engine. So we're living in a no-click time. So website traffic is going down. And for publishers, that's worrying, because we use that data to understand what people want to read on our website. It also impacts ad sales, things that we have to think about. And so how we think about SEO in this new era of AI that we're all living through and trying to figure out on the fly is really interesting. And some of my research showed that it's a matter of switching your thinking from search engine optimization to search everywhere optimization. And it's more about brand and how do people think about like if they just see you if chat or whatever AI bot you use references the Outlook. First of all, how do we ethically feel about that? But also just how do people perceive your publication? And that will carry more weight than getting someone to click on an article, at least for the time being. So those are some of the things that I'm thinking about after ACP. Yeah.
Yeah. I think just listening to you, and even the things that have come out of last year's conference and prior years, that I think it's really important that everybody kind of remembers that there is marketing, and there's so much that goes into what a publication is, but at the heart of what all of these publications are doing, and whether independent or funded by a denomination or whatever, is that we really are a ministry that are working for the goodness of the kingdom. And so, like, to hear you speak about it in ways of, like, it's not just about what you're typing in, it's not just about what pops up, it's about how we're perceived and what we're putting out there. And how we are presenting ourselves in the world that is a good and true reflection of what we were made to be and created to be in the image of Christ. And so the Outlook has committed to being as authentic as we possibly can, and to be as honest as we can in our journalism and our ethics and how we stand by what we do. And when we mess up, we name that as well. And so that carries into everything that we have put out into the world, and that has gone recognized. And so let's get to the big stuff. This is what everybody wants to know. The Outlook took home some awards this year. So Rose is going to break down all we took home, and shout out to all of our writers and reporters who were instrumental in making this happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love going to, let's see, I'm entering my 6th year at the Outlook, which is crazy to think about. And the first year was we were still in COVID, so the ACP was online, but every year I've gone since. And it is like, we work really hard at the Outlook. And it is such like this niche ministry, and we're remote. And so this awards conference, it's a nice time every year to feel some sort of recognition for our work, and to remind ourselves of, like, yeah, that was really good. I am very proud of that story. Where I'm so proud of that writer. Like, I've published them a number of times, and I know this particular article meant something to them. So yes, I love the awards ceremony every year, and we want to give people their flowers. And I want to say that it's a group effort of writing and coming up with the idea and editing and how you lay it out. And yes, it's a group effort to get to the final end product. But we got 5 awards, and the way the ACP does it is there's first, second, and third place that get publicly recognized. So we got an award of merit is second place for our coverage of how the PCUSA, the mission restructuring that happened in 2025. So this is a series of reported articles that we have commissioned and edited and published, some opinion pieces too. But that just kind of cover the denomination's decision to stop using mission coworkers and move to a different model, and how that was announced and applied and reacted to. And we're still in the midst of figuring out what this new model means, what our theology of mission is as a denomination, and we'll have more coverage to add to this, especially after GA and a lot of the conversations that will happen there. But an award of merit to all our reporters and opinion writers for reflecting on the PCUSA's mission restructuring. So that is one. And then wasn't sure. The second that I will shout out is an honorable mention, which is third place, to our freelance reporter, Harriet Riley, who wrote Chicago Pastors Confront Escalating Violence at ICE Detention Center. So this is a story of pastors protesting outside of Broadview, which is an ICE detention center outside of Chicago in Illinois. And we actually got permission from the Chicago Sun-Times has this amazing photo of Reverend David Black being pepper sprayed by an ICE officer. That went viral last year. I'm sure many of you are familiar with that photo. And we got permission from the Sun-Times to rerun that with this article. So I think between that photo and Harriet's amazing reporting, that really put the focus on not just sensationalizing what was happening, but speaking to the sense of justice and mission and purpose that the pastors on the front lines were expressing in this work, I think makes for a really informative and beautiful story. And I'm really glad that it got recognized.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's been very busy, Harriet has.
Those who read our writing a good bit will recognize the name Harriet Riley. She lives in New Orleans and submitted something for, she wrote something for her church last year, maybe 18 months ago. And that's how we got introduced. And she's just an amazing writer. And I'm so glad that she has been willing to work with us. But you'll read more of her writing throughout GA. She's doing a good bit of reporting for us there. So those
What else did we get, Rose?
Yes. Third award of merit, second place to Patrice Gaines, who wrote, this is for a personal experience long format. So a personal essay entitled What Donald Trump and I Have in Common. And so this is Patrice, who is a freelance writer for us, I believe. She does a good bit of reporting. Since this is a personal essay, I believe she just wrote it as an artist and a passionate person and submitted it to us. But she shares her story of how she was imprisoned and convicted decades ago, maybe more than 40 years ago. And you can read the whole story behind that in this essay. And reflects on how she, as a Black woman, how this conviction has followed her throughout her life, and how the idea of being a person who is convicted of something is what she shares with our president, Donald Trump, who has been convicted of crimes, and how they have different experiences of living with that title. So that Patrice is a beautiful writer. I always love reading what she submits, whether it's a reported article or a personal piece. She's one of those writers that needs very little editing. She's very good and lives in Charlotte, North Carolina. And yeah, beautiful essay. Definitely worth reading. So those are three. Fourth is, I'm excited about this one because it's a piece that I worked on as the editor. It's an award of merit. So second place goes to Brendan McLean for a critical review. And that is for Why Wake Up Dead Man may be the most Christian film of 2025. And this, it's always interesting because some of the pieces that win awards go largely unnoticed by our audience. And there are so many factors as to why something is clickable or readable or not. But this critical review,
not this one,
got a lot of attention on social media. You'll probably remember we posted it right towards the end of the year. I think Wake Up Dead Man came out maybe in November, but I think was streaming in December. And you all loved it. This all got a ton of reaction online. And on top of that, to have a judge say this is, a really good interaction with a piece of art was very fun. And Brendan McLean is a pastor who lives in Texas. He's been writing for us for years. He loves movies and always is pitching me ideas on movies to review or to write about. And I enjoy working with him. And so I just love that he got his roses because he puts a lot of effort in. And it's great to see him recognized. Yeah. So the fifth and last award that we won this year is for a scholarly article. another second place, an award of merit, goes to Rachel Bard, who is a professor at Union Presbyterian Seminary. And her essay is Public Theology and the Many Faces of Jesus. And I'm so glad this one won. We published it early in 2025.
Mm-hmm.
I'm forgetting the exact issue. Do you remember?
I want to say it was part of our civil rights issue. No, it was part of our public theology. So it was January. It was January.
Yes. Our January issue on public theology. And
I think it was literally one of the very first articles that we posted for the year.
In 2025.
Like literally one of the first. Yeah.
And
thank you, Dartinia, coming through with public theology.
So Rachel just takes like this really interesting look at the history of how Jesus has been visually presented throughout history, and how we picture who Jesus's personhood, how that affects our faith and how we understand God, how we see other people. And probably maybe Ann Walker is our designer for the magazine. Dartinia Hall is our managing editor for the magazine. And between the two of them, they're the ones who come up with the artwork and how to lay things out in print. And they found some great images of Jesus as an Asian man, of Jesus as a Black man. And of course, the curly brown hair, blue-eyed Jesus that many of us saw on some Sunday school wall at some point in our childhood. And so and Rachel just does a great job. I think sometimes scholars writing for a scholarly publication is very different than writing for the Outlook, which is, we want everyone, regardless of your education, to be able to pick up the Outlook and read it and understand articles. And that transition is hard for a lot of scholars, but I think Rachel totally nailed it. It's a very just easy to understand and thoughtful essay. And I'm so glad that it got recognized. So those are our 5 awards. And I could go on, but we're proud of them.
So the Outlook, we took home 5, which was pretty great. We had a text thread going, a few of us on staff, and every time the Outlook was mentioned, what I loved about it too was that when we were talking about it, yes, there was this acknowledgement of, oh, the Outlook won something. But what I loved about us and what I love about the Outlook is that every time somebody won or something was recognized, we would immediately text all caps with like emojis and exclamation marks, the name of the writer. Because it's not just about us as an organization. This whole thing is done, as Rose said, in collaboration. It's a family effort. Your heart and soul goes into your writing, and our heart and soul goes into making sure that it is taken care of and put out into the world with great consideration. And when we were putting all of our submissions together, this isn't just Rose and Dartinia and Terry going, oh, this is what we're doing. This is what performed the best. And this is what we're sending for consideration. Everybody kind of has a stake in it of what impacted you this year? What do you think should go forward? And so sending these lists in is not easy by any stretch, because all of our writers do such a great job. Our reporters do such a great job. There was so much content to pull from to send in this year. And so it was cool to see everyone who did get acknowledged. But also, I feel like it's important, Rose, that we still shout out a lot of the other people that impacted us. And this is not an exhaustive list, because again, there's so much that came out in 2025 and again, what we'll have to talk about in 2026 that comes out. But Rose, what were some of your favorites that either we submitted or that you wish had gotten some recognition by ACP?
Yes, as you said, Jesse, this is a non-exhaustive list. And if you were to ask me tomorrow, I'd probably have some different things to say. It changes day by day. And we publish 11 issues a year, and additionally 2 to 3 articles online, Monday through Friday. So it's a long list of things to consider.
Mm-hmm.
But today, as I was thinking back on 2025, some things that I would love to shout out as some of my favorite things is an op-ed we published by Marissa Duffield, who uses they, them pronouns. They are in grad school up in Canada, I believe, but they wrote a letter to the church I love. And it was an essay or a letter, really, from someone who grew up in the church, who loves the church, but also feels a little alienated and hurt by the church.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it deserves a shout out because it's great writing. It took a lot of courage, I imagine, for Marissa to write this. And kind of on a personal editorial note, we got some lovely, we got a lot of feedback from that letter. People writing letters to Marissa and saying, please forward this to them. And so it felt like the way that Marissa approached this topic, which could have been defensive or alienating, the way they approached it really opened up some people to hear the criticism with love. So I think that deserves a shout out for me. And then another one that I'll say is I'm a dog person. I'm surprised my dog hasn't barked yet. No packages were delivered yet, I guess. But Andy Greenhow wrote kind of like a theological personal essay called Theology of a Pack, Lessons of a Dumb Beloved Dog. And this one's a little personal for me. I know Andy. I met him when I was at seminary in Pittsburgh Theological. And so I knew the dog has since, the dumb beloved dog of this essay has since passed. But I knew Melody, who was this 3-legged pit bull and just so sweet. But Andy's essay is essentially about how much he loved Melody, but also how she had a lot of reasons to distrust humans, but didn't. And just the lessons that we can learn from the creatures in our life. So I loved that essay. And as a secondary shout out on the topic of dogs, Katie Shevel wrote an essay of, I'm going to cry talking about praying Compline with her dying dog.
Yes, that's right.
A little essay as well about loving your creature through the end of their life and the lessons of that. So if you want 2 beautiful essays about dogs and theology, those are 2 that I'll shout out.
And maybe bring some tissues with you if
you I still can't read Katie's without crying.
Sorry. This is what I'm talking about though, friends. Like, there are so many things that we can choose from. It's not just about clicks and likes and this, that, or the other thing. It's about that emotional connection and the impact that a story has on you. And for me, we talked about, this is not an exhaustive list, but one of the ones that has stuck with me is Lakeisha Lockhart's Complexity of Joy. Yeah. Lakeisha Lockhart last year did a whole webinar on play and what it looks like to find the theology of play. And at this time in our world, in our country, and ministry, where there is continuous talks of decline and things are going to hell in a handbasket, having joy is a disruption and an act of resistance, and it's very holy and sacred. And if you were to ever meet Lakeisha, if you attended that webinar, you can go back and you can watch it if you want to. Lakeisha is just the embodiment of joy. Like, if you were to watch Inside Out and see joy on that movie, that's Lakeisha, but in real life, and like amplified, but in a way that's so endearing and so charming and just so holy. Like, you can see Christ coming through her and everything that she does, and how that act of joy is so crucial to how we approach our ministry. And so it was it was sad not to see it get recognized, but also like it still is a really meaningful article that does really well every time that we share it. So
and I will just like shout out, if you need like Sunday school material or small group, like that article and or the webinar are great material for that.
Yeah. I will say, Rose, I am a little bit disappointed. So there is an award that goes out every year for editorial courage.
Yeah.
And last year, if you all remember, the Outlook made a very big decision following the publication of our civil rights issue. Our engagement was on fire. We were doing excellent. And then literally at like, 7:30 in the morning, we got shut down on Instagram and by Meta. Kicked off, no explanation, just violation of community standards. And Rose and myself and the rest of the staff kind of went into crisis management mode, and what do we do? And tried to get a hold of a human, and that didn't happen. We submitted an appeal, it was denied immediately. And so we met with our marketing folks and just sort of, what do we do now? And how do we navigate this? And so our publisher and editor put out an editorial of basically chronicling what we did and what happened to us, and how we, quote unquote, violated community standards. And it blew up. Like,
you guys
super
read
fast.
It, shared it.
It was crazy. And it really was an act of courage to say, hey, this happened to us, and we're just a small publication that's doing the best that we can. And we're posting real articles like Patrice's article that talks about her experience in prison and how that relates to the president of the United States. And our civil rights issue by itself was phenomenal. And so to see all of that come crashing down because we were reporting the truth and we were reporting real things. And then the decision following that to stay off of Instagram once we were reinstated, which we're all fairly confident we were only reinstated because of pressure from all of you.
Yeah. An actual human saw.
Yeah.
Like, wait, what happened?
Yeah. So the decision that we made to stay off of Instagram moving forward, that has impacted us deeply.
Yeah.
And changed the way that Rose and I think about digital ministry and how we navigate things. But the courage of our conviction to say, we're not going to do this. And we're going to step away from this. And navigating the implications of us still being on Facebook and everything that comes with that too. Yeah. So not us submitting those pieces and not getting recognized, when we personally, I know as the Outlook team, we went through it last February and March and April, really trying to sort of navigate this world and the lasting impact that it's had. I kind of just wanted somebody to be like, yeah, you really did. You guys went through it.
Yeah.
And Terry did such a great job writing both of those pieces and sort of naming what we believed and what we were standing by. And so kudos to Terry for sure for chronicling our story. But if you're wondering why we're not on Instagram, go back and check out those articles. Yeah. But as we wrap up, I just want to thank you, Rose, for coming and then talking about ACP, talking about the awards that we won, for all the work that you do as our digital content editor, as well as the rest of the Outlook staff. Like Rose said, we are not a big staff. We are 7 members and 2 interns, and only 3 of us are, well, not me, but 3 people are full-time staff. So we really are pulling this all together the best that we can, and doing really good, sacred, holy work. So one of the things that I think it's important to name, that we've named all the time, is that we are not funded by the denomination. We are an independent publication. And so it's really important to us that you recognize that we don't get any like big monies from the denomination or anything like that. We are funded completely through grants and through you.
Yeah.
And so I'm putting a link, 2 links in the comments, one to subscribe and one to donate, because that's how we continue doing the work that we do. And I'll make sure that those are separate links in the comments when I go on Facebook. But Rose, can you give a brief heads up? Because as you all know, what Rose said, we got kudos for our coverage of mission highlights. We also are going to do a significant amount of coverage for GA, and there is a discount for subscribers around GA. Rose, can you detail that just a little bit?
Yeah, so GA is always a labor of love for us at the Outlook staff to cover for you all. And it is important work, and we believe in it. So we bring in a lot of freelancers to help write all those articles. But we cover it well. So as Jesse said, if you want, we do have a paywall on our website. We allow 3 free reads each month for non-subscribers. If you think you're going to read more than 3 articles in June and July, during the height of GA, I highly suggest subscribing. And we are running a special where first-time subscribers can get a year of the Outlook, the digital form, for $9.95, I believe. So a digital subscription means that you get a login and you get to bypass the paywall on the website, and you still get access to the PDFs of all the 11 issues, physical issues that we publish each year. And essentially you just get unlimited access to our archives. If you to catch up on what the Unification Commission's been up to, on the latest with the new confession, you can read back issues, back articles, and then also everything that we're going to be publishing in June and July, covering the plenaries and committees and opinions and all that good stuff that us Presbyterians just love.
And I just put in the comments, for those who are watching, the link to all of our GA coverage. And you can also, for your own, you can go into our store and get the GA guide, which is free to download. There are also available bulletin inserts for your congregation that you can purchase at a very affordable rate. So all of your GA needs are sort of a one-stop shop with the Outlook. And as at ACP Awards recognized, we do a pretty good job covering important topics, and we do a lot of hard work. And so maybe this time next year we'll be seeing our flowers for our GA coverage from ACP. But until then, Rose, thank you again for coming and for talking about us. Thank you all for watching, and I hope that you continue to support the Outlook, continue to support the writers of the Outlook, and we'll see you next year to see what all we took home and what all you put into the world. So
thanks, Jesse.
bye, y'all. Thank you.
Bye.